Welcome to Ancient Edge, where we unearth the secrets that history buried and modern civilization forgot. Every time you navigate around a pothole, every time you hear about another bridge closure, another water main break flooding city streets, doesn't a question gnaw at you? Why, with all our technology, all our engineering degrees, all our computer simulations, can't we build things that last anymore? The answer isn't in some Silicon Valley laboratory or cutting-edge research facility. It's buried beneath 2,000 years of dust, embedded in the weathered stones of structures that have outlived empires. Today we're diving into the forgotten genius of Roman aqueducts, engineering marvels that put our modern infrastructure to shame. What you're about to discover will change how you see every crumbling overpass, every failing water system, every infrastructure disaster that dominates the headlines. The enduring enigma when ancient beats modern. Stand before the Pont du Gard in southern France. 3 tiers of golden limestone arches rise 49 meters above the Gardon River, each stone fitted so precisely that no mortar holds them together. This aqueduct has stood for nearly 2 millennia, surviving floods, wars, and the collapse of the very civilization that built it. Now, just imagine the Morandi Bridge in Genoa, a modern engineering achievement that catastrophically collapsed in 2018 after just 51 years. Or consider that the American Society of Civil Engineers gives United States infrastructure a C- grade, with over 40% of bridges beyond their design life. The contrast is staggering, almost incomprehensible. How did Romans, working without computers, without steel, without engines, create structures that endure while ours crumble within decades? The answer lies not in superior tools, but in superior wisdom. The Romans possessed knowledge about materials and design that we've somehow forgotten in our rush towards speed and cost-cutting. They understood something fundamental that modern engineers are only now beginning to rediscover: that the cheapest option isn't always the best, and that infrastructure built to last centuries ultimately costs less than infrastructure that must be replaced every generation. At the heart of Roman engineering supremacy lies a substance called opus cementitium, Roman concrete, and it possesses properties that modern materials cannot match. While, today's concrete actually begins deteriorating almost from the moment it's poured, Roman concrete, on the other hand, grows stronger with age. The real secret lies in its composition, specifically the use of volcanic ash called pozzolana, which was typically sourced from the slopes of Mount Vesuvius and the volcanic fields around the Bay of Naples. When Roman engineers mixed this volcanic ash with lime and seawater, they ended up creating something truly extraordinary. The volcanic material contains aluminum and silicon, which react with lime and seawater in a slow, complex chemical process. Over decades and even centuries, this reaction produces new crystalline minerals, particularly a rare compound called aluminum tobermarite. This compound fills microscopic cracks and voids within the structure, so essentially the concrete heals itself, growing denser and much more resistant to fracture over time. Marine archaeologists studying ancient Roman harbour installations have discovered concrete that's been continuously exposed to seawater for 2,000 years, yet it remains remarkably intact, actually harder now than when it was first constructed. Now, let's compare this to modern Portland cement, which was developed back in the 19th century for rapid setting and early strength. Our concrete today is really designed for speed, hardening in just a few hours rather than taking months, so construction projects can move along quickly. But this speed comes at a devastating cost. Modern concrete is, unfortunately, prone to cracking, and it's vulnerable to salt infiltration from de-icing chemicals. It's also susceptible to something called alkali-silica reaction, which causes internal expansion and, well, deterioration. Most contemporary concrete structures are designed for a lifespan of about 50 years, and honestly, many don't even make it that far. The environmental impact adds another layer of tragedy to the story. Producing Portland cement means heating limestone to extreme temperatures, and that process generates roughly 8% of global carbon dioxide emissions. Roman concrete, by contrast, required far less heat and actually sequestered carbon dioxide as it aged and reacted with atmospheric CO2. But material science alone doesn't really explain Roman success. Their structural design showed an understanding of physics and engineering that feels almost intuitive. Roman aqueducts, for example, operated entirely through gravity, eliminating the need for mechanical systems that require maintenance and eventually fail. The deepest lesson from Roman aqueducts, my dear listeners, isn't merely technical but rather philosophical. You see, Roman infrastructure, it truly reflected a civilization that thought in terms of centuries, not just fleeting election cycles. Now, here's an interesting tidbit. Engineers of the time faced personal liability for any failures. Imagine this. If a bridge were to collapse, the engineer responsible would stand beneath it during the support removal. Quite a bold testament to accountability, wouldn't you agree? You know, the path forward really requires more than just admiration for ancient achievements. Researchers all over the world are now recreating Roman concrete formulas, developing these self-healing materials that could honestly revolutionize construction. Some contemporary projects are experimenting with volcanic ash additives and slower curing mixtures, designed for longevity, not just speed. And well, the principles of redundant design, passive systems that require minimal energy and regular maintenance schedules are actually finding their way back into engineering curricula. But you see, technical solutions mean nothing without a real philosophical change. We must demand infrastructure that's built to last, even when it costs a bit more at the start. We must fund maintenance consistently, not just rush in to repair catastrophes. And perhaps most importantly, we must think like the Romans, building for the millennium ahead, not just the next decade. The ruins of Roman aqueducts stand as both a testament and a challenge. They prove that humans can create works that transcend generations, that endure long after empires have fallen. Every time you see a pothole, just remember, we once knew better. The question isn't whether we can build to last. The question is whether we still possess the wisdom and courage to try. Subscribe to Ancient Edge. Share this video with everyone who wonders why these days we can't seem to build anything that lasts. Together, let's reclaim the forgotten knowledge that could, honestly, save our crumbling world. The ancient engineers are calling across the centuries. Are you ready to listen?